Your media, where you are.
From a podcast studio in Johannesburg, South Africa, our land. You are listening to the relationship with your co-host Candace,
and it's now B
and our extra special guest
Bradley.
Yes. If you're looking for a podcast that talks about relationships and jolo, everything nice, everything spice, we hope we make a great pair. So, to our listeners, I know we have been MIA, and it's not because we're busy.
No.
It's not because, we committed. We committed to showing up at least at 6:30, 7:30 every Wednesday.
Indeed.
But for the past 2 weeks, we've been dribbled by a side chick. Now, that isn't the topic of the episode today, right? It actually is imposter syndrome in relationships, but I thought I'd give our listeners an explanation as to why we've been MIA.
Because
it wasn't our fault.
Explain exactly.
It wasn't our fault. Bradley, you know what side chicks are?
Where's the tea?
Yes, of course.
Bradley was like, I'm not sure.
No, I've never heard.
Tell me more.
Yes. What is this?
So we had, our previous guest was Philip de Kotler, and he had made a recommendation to a friend who actually is the principal of the school
of side
chicks. So she started a movement where she tries to get people to become side chicks. So it's a form of sexual empowerment. It's a form of, but also just, how do you eat men's money, essentially?
Right. Yeah.
Is what I gather.
Course,
right. So I was really excited to have her on. And Pinky Girl, or should I say Orange Girl? I don't know. Anyway, people know who she is. The first time we tried to have her on the podcast, it was her birthday weekend. So she was in Cape Town doing best what side chicks do, living it up.
CEO.
Pour it up. Pour it up. Pour up. Pour up. Guys, that song it slaps. Anyway, so she was pouring it up. So the plan was that the stream was on Wednesday, and she was in Cape Town, so she was going to fly in to Joburg from Cape Town for the night off to stream, record, get her fan base in, and then Thursday morning, go back to Cape Town for her birthday,
out, yeah.
So Miss Orange Girl.
Miss Orange Girl.
Thought she was Pinky. Okay, yeah.
Anyway,
continue.
No, but everyone knows. Yeah, it's fine. So Miss Pinky Girl, as she's known, this is her flight. Her flight was meant to be at 3, then she'd be here by 6, and then she should still make it in time. So she misses her flight, and she realizes that she will be in Joburg by 8, and she didn't want to inconvenience the podcast. So I was like, okay, you know what? If that's the case, since it's your birthday, I'll be lenient. We can take a break. It was the Heritage Weekend. It's chill. We just all went to bri, whatever.
Of course, yeah.
So we move it to
the
next week, and she wanted it to be the Thursday because Wednesday she was also out and about. People were having a different party in a different province for her, hosting her. So yeah, right.
The students organized the party.
I see, the scholars. Yes, of course, of the association.
So Thursday comes and we decide let's do the stream at like 2:30, and we're gonna have our really good workmate as our co-host Mo, and Mo was very excited. He was so excited to meet the principal. And I don't think
he had a question.
He had a whole. He was ready. He was so excited.
Listen up.
And so I'm on my way to the studio. I'm coming through. I'm getting out, and she sends me a message to say, "Hey, my car's in for service, but I'm gonna Uber from Pretoria to the studio." It's like, okay, sharp, cool, okay. That's that. Ubering.
I mean, we're not
Oh.
gonna pay attention to the fact that
Ubering.
Pretoria is a different province.
Imagine.
Yeah, literally, it's too far. Like,
It's
right.
You Uber to Rosebank. Pretoria is like another
right.
country, basically.
You
don't-
you do
it's too
it.
far.
You catch a lift.
You must have money for
You
that.
don't Uber. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, so sharp. And then she messaged me, sends me another message to say I'm on the freeway. So I'm like, okay, this girl's on her way. Mo and I are getting excited. We're like, oh my gosh, so many questions. They prep. You know, we're sitting. We're like, okay, so what are you gonna
Doing
ask her?
this.
Guys, she sends me another message to say, I hate being late. And mind you, that time
Ooh, that's
she
a loaded
wasn't
statement.
being late.
Mhm.
She wasn't being late. And she
Mhm.
said it gives her anxiety when she's late. And I get it. I also don't like being late. It gives me anxiety when I'm late. I hate inconveniencing people. I hate holding people up.
Yeah.
So I always am like 10, 15, even 30 minutes earlier than what I'm meant to be.
Right.
So I'm just like, and she's like, do you think we could have the interview on the phone? And I'm like, I'm not going to have you on an interview if you're on your way in an Uber on your phone when we can just have it when you're here.
Yeah.
The studio is preset. Come through, like just make it and it's fine. We'll delay. Like we have the studio until 5. It's not an issue. Her phone goes off.
Oh. Dum dum dum.
Her phone goes off. Now, Mo, being the professional that he is, actually uses the office phone
Mhm.
to call one of her many numbers that she has.
Okay.
And she's not picking up any of the numbers. And then she sends a message 20 minutes later to say, I really hate being an inconvenience, but I think we should postpone.
On any of her numbers, and then inconvenience, and then postpone.
Yeah. So guys, it
Oh.
wasn't us.
That was the tea, guys.
It was we at What the Relationship actually got dribbled by a side chick. And I wish there was more content for it to be a longer episode. But we're not here for that.
Lesson 304.
You know, no, yeah, don't
In the handbook, yeah.
Don't get dribbled by a side chick. But I get her anxiety. I mean, I'm also the same, but I then show up.
Exactly.
Yes,
Better late
yeah.
than never.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than
Because
cancel the
you're
whole thing.
saying you're being an inconvenience, which you actually are by not showing up.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So
think about this. You're Ubering all the way from Pretoria. Where was she? Because you know Pretoria streets. Once you're on that street, that's the street that you're taking.
And you're
Yes,
done.
You're
exactly.
on the freeway. You're on the
You're on
freeway.
the
babes.
freeway.
It's
There's
one
no-
road.
Exactly.
There's no
Mhm.
turning
There's no
back.
turning back.
I
So
genuinely
Yeah.
feel like she was in the hands of another man. Hands in the men and hands of another man.
Yes.
Because the weather was a bit shaky that day.
Ooh.
So I
She
can
you
understand.
think she
Oh,
was
there you
in
go.
within cuddles?
She was in cuddles with one of many.
Yeah. You should have known when you saw the clouds. You're like, oh yeah, it's good.
I was like, oh, it's Canada.
Rain.
Oh, this is
Definitely.
yeah.
No, we should
This
not.
is
It's
not,
okay.
This is not side chick weather.
Yeah.
But either way, we support. Well, I wouldn't say support, but we love the work that the school
True,
side chicks do.
true.
And we wish them many great success in trying to get more people to be side chicks.
And I mean,
Right.
she has so many students, eh?
She has a following of 50,000, so that's
Whoa.
really great. Yeah.
Ah, this is an organization.
No,
This
it's
is
an
amazing.
actual.
It's
She,
a-
yeah, no,
it's a
she
conglomerate.
formalized it. It's a
I don't know what
yeah,
that
it's
means.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. It's like an amalgamation of
Yeah, the
amalgamation, the amalgam of people,
conflagration of
Exactly.
The, yeah.
of the peoples.
Of the pronunciation.
Hey,
Hey!
hey, now.
That's a lot.
Jesus.
No,
That's
it's a lot. It's a
Wow.
lot. It's a
Sure.
lot. But either way, that's not what we're here for today.
Yeah.
We're talking about imposter syndrome and relationships, and I think this conversation was triggered by me. I will announce that I am now single. And I think my imposter syndrome has definitely had the best of me, not only in relationships, but of me, you know? And what is interesting about it is that oftentimes what imposter syndrome does is that it makes you feel like you're not worthy of anything good in life, be it the job you get, be it the opportunity you have, be it the people you're around, be it even the people you date. It sucks, right?
Absolutely.
And it's a process that I've been working through personally in terms of like career wise and Candace. But now I'm just curious to know, like, how imposter syndrome works when it comes to us as individuals within the world of love and Mjolo. I can say for sure that when I was in high school, I always doubted when a good man came my way. I was like, who? Are you sure they didn't prank you? Are you sure?
This is a bit. Someone got you
Yeah,
up to this.
that's
Like,
literally, are you sure that, are you doing this because you just want, what is it? What is it? I'd always question your intention, not knowing if it was pure or not. And I guess, I don't know if it was the imposter or just me being that girl to know, like, you look like a boy, Jonathan. What's going on, Jonathan?
Yeah.
It's always Jonathan.
Always, I was gonna say, isn't it? Like,
Hey, Jonathan's too better.
It's always a John.
Hey, it's always a Jono.
Yeah,
hey?
John. Yeah, there.
Hey,
they introduced as Jono.
Hey,
run, go forward.
Run for your life.
Yeah.
It's even worse if they drive VWs. Anyway,
immediately.
I know I'm going to be dragged. Anyway, so I just thought we would have this conversation, because usually we do have a lot of like lighthearted, funny conversations about relationships and in like cheating, but now I'm just
shook right now. I'm just like, wait, hold up, where are we? What is this? Like, I did not know about this.
You know about what?
The breakup. What happened? Like, I'm just like, hold up,
she's
girl.
like, she was listening to everything else, and she's like, no, we need to go back to like 5 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Because that's the issue.
Rewind.
She just went, and she just went.
Yeah. She's like, imposter syndrome. Yeah, never mind that.
And she just said the whole time. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. Miles and I are.
No!
We are independent.
No!
All the single ladies.
No, this is not happening.
Now with your hands
I felt
up.
the same way. I did.
So you knew?
I phoned you. You didn't. No, I'm kidding.
It's like, Z, don't you remember? Like,
Yeah.
I called you.
What
Like,
number? Is it a
like,
9 or a 7 at the
yeah,
end?
and
I'm
that shows
sorry.
that Z clearly has a lot of chats with men that you can't remember.
Right? Like, clearly I don't remember the next
Like, I'm
day.
sorry, who
Got
are you
you
again?
archived.
Oh, no. Yeah.
She's got you archived.
Oh,
And that's the
wow.
most painful one.
Oh,
Where I will acknowledge you, but on my own time.
I think I'm getting a phone call. Hang on, wait.
Oh my God, I am so sorry.
No, don't be sorry about it. I think, well, for me at least, it was necessary for us to just figure out whether we want this. 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It is.
And
I'm actually
when I
tearing
think
up
about
right
it,
now. Like,
when I think about it, we've been together since I was 21. He was what, 23?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at that time, you're still young, you're still navigating the world. And I think a lot has happened in our relationship that unfortunately has put me in a position where my imposter syndrome has made me doubt whether he wants to be with me.
Oh, I see.
And I think it's just, it's equal on its end, that I think we both acknowledge that we both weren't giving each other 100% into the relationship. And we just thought it was best to just take the time that we needed.
yeah.
Live life a little, see what happens and see where life redirects us. If life redirects us to each other again, then it's
Okay, so you guys are actually not broken up.
What?
You're taking a break. Okay, great. We can move on.
She just needs that for like, just go with it. Just go with it. Yeah. What?
No.
What?
No. I informed him. I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore, because you said things, you do things, you project, and it just makes me feel like it doesn't give me clarity as to whether you want to be with me anymore. And so it is what it is. I think more than anything, I respect the way he respected my decision. I know he didn't want this, but he respected it, and I still admire and love him for that he still chose to be respectful and caring. So more than anything, it was a very cordial, amicable breakup. There was no Jerry. No, there was nothing of that.
Popcorn.
But Bradley should say like,
Like, I'll intervene in 5 minutes. Just wait till it's a good
You
part
know?
first.
but other than that, it was amicable. We're still friends. We still check up on each other, and I think that's good because we can still at least focus 100% on being the best versions of ourselves, and then see if we are ever going to find ourselves again or find each other again. And that's something that I'm not going to hold on to hope for. I'm just going to trust in the universe's timing. And I know what's meant for me won't pass me. It won't miss me.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, I think given everything, that's probably the best way it could have turned out.
Yeah,
Consider-
I've had nasty
I mean, given the
breakups.
scenario, it is sad.
Yeah.
Really sad that it happened.
Yeah.
I also felt that way.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. A lot of people also on Twitter were like, what? Because they
So
always
on
just,
Twitter,
yeah.
you announced on Twitter, guys.
She's like the
where
last to
am
find
I
out.
living? Like, what is going on? Am I living under a
I
rock?
think even-
I need a moment. I need a second.
No, even 2 weeks ago, I posted a picture of a book that I've been reading called Higher Love, which is also very, very powerful. I want to do an episode on it. But for me, and even the caption I put to say, this time around, I'm not falling in love, I'm rather rising in love. And this book is very powerful in navigating in this new journey. And people are like, whoa, what's going on? People could tell. So people being newsy.
I mean, didn't have a phone for like a clean week and a half.
Yeah.
So
So
actually 2 weeks. So
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. But it's okay. I'm good. I'm good.
I feel like it's that moment, when you miss school and a lot happens, but when you're always there, nothing happens.
Yeah, that's true. The one day you leave, and then suddenly it's
one
like,
day
you should have
it's
seen
like-
what happened.
Exactly.
All the
like-
assignments,
Well,
Was it the whole time? Nothing happened?
everything, So I'm all Gucci. I think we move. And it is what it is. It is what it is. I feel like I need that as a soundboard. That
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
it is what it is. It just sounds so good.
And you guys
It
made me
does.
believe in love so much. It's
Oh,
okay, guys. I'm
babe.
changing my Tinder profile. I'm not looking for love anymore.
Wow.
Join Side Chicks Association. Hello.
Hello. Okay, but yeah, no, you actually have to be accepted into the school as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
There's
there's
like
like
to roll.
requirements.
Admit-
Yeah.
3 months bank statement, proof of residence. Like, what are we talking about there? Like, is it-
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Whoa.
a lot. It's a lot.
Yes.
But yeah,
artificial.
back to the
Yes, yeah.
So how do you guys understand imposter syndrome to yourselves? And do you think it's played a role in your relationships? Like your intimate, not even your intimate relationships, even when you're dating or you're hooking up with someone, like he's giving you a face that's like, let's go to Bradley.
Someone there, she was looking, I don't know.
Wow,
Um,
Brad.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely, I would. I'd say it's actually affected me in like many areas of life, like even with even friendships, even with school, even with like a lot of things. At times I do things and you get that praise and it's like, oh, you're so this, and sometimes like a compliment out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, you must have the wrong person. Like no, and it ranges because sometimes you'll hear something and you're like someone will be like, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so this. I'm like,
You know what I mean?
no. And then there's other times you're like, no, you're dead wrong. Like now you have the wrong person entirely. But yeah, I would say that. Like oftentimes, well, there was one time I was getting to know somebody, and
Somebody.
I love it.
I love how he goes.
like the
I love how he goes. I was getting to know somebody.
I was getting to know
and
somebody.
then after
Okay.
that,
Mom and Gay, come through with your
Dum, dum,
spine self.
No, baby. Gosh,
I want to know ya.
woo, wow, that's actually the rest of the story. That's what happened. No,
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
no, but like, so it was in varsity. Okay, so not too long ago.
Oh
And-
yeah. Oh, varsity days.
Ooh, the things that happened there. But yeah, no, but so I was getting to know somebody. It was actually in a group project, really. And and then we like started getting to. The thing is, we'd only probably spoken a couple times,
yeah.
and then afterwards there was this really like flirty vibe, and I was like feeling it too. I was like, this is really cool. Like, okay,
Mhm.
And then the thing is, we'd only like met up on campus after group projects, so it wasn't even like a date, right?
Yeah.
But
I
then-
hate those ones.
It's
I
like
hate those
accidental.
ones.
It's like,
When it's accidental, it's not a date, but let's just spend like 4 hours together.
Yeah, like it turns into that.
Yeah.
As one does, you know, of course. It starts off with like, yeah, it's okay, so who's going to do the project? And it's like, so.
Let's
who's
talk
gonna do
about
the
your
project?
deep
So,
desire.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it like started out. And then I remember that the second group meeting, project meeting.
Second time
that's what-
sounds like rounds, does it not?
Right?
The second time.
It does, but it was actually
Group project sounds like code for something.
it does, but it was all just ledgers and debits and credits. It wasn't really, it was an actual group project. It
So
was,
you guys are just calculating numbers rather than calculating your chemistry.
so hot, yeah, very much. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, so afterwards we met up, we were
Mhm.
chatting, there was definitely a vibe. And then the next time it was like this total like anti-vibe. Like she was so mean to me, and she was like she was just like intentionally going out of her way to be mean. So I was like, I don't know what's happening, because like technically this isn't a date. Like we're just talking right now. Like
just chill.
yeah. And then so I was like, okay, like that's cool. You take care. And thank you. And then the next day I got another text, and she's like, no, I want to apologize for the way I treated you. Like, let me tell you what happened and why. And then she said, no, I just gotten out of a relationship with my ex, and I'd been single for a long time. I had a fight with him the other day. Now, the reason that's a problem is because she had, after this ex, decided like no relationships, no guys. She got really hurt, you know.
Yeah.
And she's like, I decided that. And then she's like, then I met this guy, and he was just like really perfect. And I was like,
As in, did she say you, or did she just hint to say this guy?
Then she said that guy was you.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I was like,
So cute.
Right? It's so weird you have glasses on and you didn't see that coming.
you.
Damn it.
Is there aircon? Because there was heat in there. Yeah, that was. She threw fire at you there. Yeah.
Like, Bradley is the guy.
Yeah, no, I
So-
saw it. But I just like to cheat, because you know sometimes we as one
Mm-hmm.
like to say there's this guy that I'm talking to, and he's so great, but we never actually say the guy's you. We don't. So I'm glad that you had the kahunas to say it was actually you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
And I-
no, I'm not the type to openly say it's you.
Yeah.
Really? So then the poor guy
I
just
need-
wanders off thinking you're talking about a different guy.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
You need to tell me that you're feeling me, so I can feel you too. You.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah. So then she
Mhm.
said that, and she's like, you know, you're like really perfect.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's like we don't really know each other that well, like, you know, like, because I mean, like the thing is, we only met up like once or twice. So I was like, okay,
Right.
but the thing is, I was really thrown off by the previous day's thing with all the like being mean and the stuff, because she was like really went out of her way to be mean to me. So I was like, look, you know, based on everything, I think, you know, it's just good to, you know, stay single for a while, because the thing is like,
Wait.
no. Look, let me tell you what.
Wait, hold on.
Wait.
Hold up.
I feel like I'm gonna cry today.
What?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me put some suspicion on it. What?
No. Well, this is where the explanation comes in.
I think I saw it.
Yes.
Okay.
So, this,
Right.
get my notepad out quickly. I had this written down. It sounded better on paper when I wrote it down. No, but you see, the thing is, like hearing that kind of spooked me, because it was like, wow, you're so perfect. And the way she said it, it was really this like kind of like pedestal thing. And I was like, okay, but now listen, like it's nice to say like, oh, you know, it's nice getting to know you. I'm interested in you, all that. But the way she said you're so perfect. Now, so part of it was that, right?
The
other part,
perfect.
yes,
The
the
adjective-
word,
Yeah,
because
okay.
because I'd had that several times before. People are like, you're so
Right.
perfect. I'm like, but that's when like my issues come in now with the imposter syndrome, because at that time I was like a huge mess. So I was going through a lot of things, like personally, mentally. I was really quite chaotic. And at the time I was kind of had this thing of like, I was trying not to go near anybody, because I'm like, I was really volatile. I'd had situations where I'd gotten close to people and then things suddenly changed.
Right.
You know, because the thing is like, that was also just like the year after I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So there, because of, you know, the emotions, everything runs high. I'd had a lot of bad, like ugly fights with people, ugly fallouts, even close friends when feelings got involved. So the moment this happened, I was like, okay, look, I mean, I know where I'm at,
I
okay?
see.
Because
Yeah.
like I understand you see me as perfect, like and I get it. Like
He's like, I know, I see you looking at me. I see you looking at me. I know.
Right.
I know, baby girl. I see what you see because I see it.
Woo!
I see it. Okay.
I woke up like this.
I woke up like this, you know what I'm saying? I know I woke up like this, so you don't have to tell me twice.
that was at the time. That was at the time. I was like,
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I used to be like, yeah, I know you kind of just look myself in the mirror. I was like, but there's something. You don't want to be like, you don't want to be arrogant, but you're like, but there is. Okay. So, but yeah. So then I was like, right, look, okay, I know where like the issues I've got. I know what's happening. I know where I'm at. But also just kind of seeing that she was like really quite like hurt by her ex, and that was like a really present thing. So I'm like, look, I don't want my chaos to get involved with your chaos because you're gonna end up getting hurt a lot more.
Sometimes two chaoses can make a beautiful fire.
It
Right?
can,
Organized
it can.
chaos.
No.
So, but then the alternative though is something even worse. That's what happens. What happens when the chaos doesn't form something beautiful? You see. But now, but.
Okay.
This is why we have Joker.
But the Joker still has Hardy.
How about another joke, Murray? Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, like, it is something that I would have like wanted to have pursued, but at the time, it was like I just kind of felt that I was like, oh, this is wall. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm like perfect. Like, how do I? It just felt like this thing, and and I was like, I gotta think I'd live up to that, you know, not in like a you know, like, oh, she thinks I'm perfect. I didn't take that very seriously, but it was just the idea of someone really seeing something very good in me. Then they wanted to, because that hadn't like happened that many times in my life where it was like, oh, you know, I want to actually take this further. So I saw it and I was like, run. And then that's what I did.
Yep.
Yeah. And then afterwards I was
Yeah.
like, it wasn't that bad though. But it was this thing of me feeling like I'm not really worth all the thing I'm getting. I'm like, no, I'm not that good, which is funny because it leads to those conversations where someone's like, but you're so good. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And he's like, no, but you actually are. Just like, at the thing, you could look at yourself, you know. So so it's a couple times it's hard, for full.
So imposter syndrome can also like stop you from getting into relationships, or even like I think my imposter syndrome, it plays with anxiety, like major anxiety of like, did I come off across as too pushy? Was I too aggressive? Maybe I should. But it's, you know, I think it's that constant work of reminding yourself that each and every emotion and thought that you have that is negative towards you, you need to completely like disregard. So you ultimately saying you don't deserve love or you don't deserve this, just completely disregard it. And rather just fight through those thoughts and saying, okay, but what brought me to that point, that final thought that I don't deserve this? Because if so many people are telling me this is who I am, I'm this good person, I do this, at what point should I start believing it? Instead of undermining myself, which is ultimately the biggest hurt you could do to yourself, you know? So it's at some point asking yourself, when you take those affirmations that you get from other people and then turn it within and say, these are things that I need to believe in myself, because other people see it too. So you need to see it for yourself too. And you also only deserve good things. Like the other day, a friend of mine got me a gift. And I just didn't know what to do. Like I felt like I just didn't know what to do. And I was like, I told her I don't deserve this. And she was like, hi, being a typical mother.
Yeah.
She's like, she's like, you deserve only good things.
Yes.
And you need to surround people who see the good things in you and gift you for that, for no reason. Like,
absolutely,
you don't only have to be gifted because you got an achievement. Like,
true.
Damn, bro, you're looking good today. He has a gift.
Yeah.
And that is partly my love language. So,
you know,
if my friends are loving me, right, then I expect the same from a person to say, you know what, these are my love languages. These are the things that will constantly reassure me and honestly fight that imposter syndrome. And so do that for me and not feel guilty for asking.
Yeah.
I think that's what's important.
True.
So Yeah.
But I mean, I think
Yeah,
as
see?
people, we have different love languages.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so finding the partner who's willing to be like, okay, I get who Candace is,
Right.
but also this is who Z is.
Right.
So how do we find a common middle ground?
Mm-hmm.
You know, not necessarily compromising your love languages
Yeah, you should
completely, but like,
never do
Yeah.
that.
you
True,
know,
true, yeah.
finding a balance between the
'Cause
two.
This is
Mhm.
something I was like, I don't know, like action's amazing, but because of the anxiety I have, I need the reassurance through words. So tell me how you feel and match it with action.
Right.
And if there's ever a day when you tell me how you feel, but then the action's not leading up, then
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Mm.
I might be an imposter, but you,
Yeah. You're the imposter.
You're acting very shady right now.
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like I need that balance between the two to say, you know, if you're like, Minister, I love you, man, Minister,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, so let me see my bank balance.
Mhm.
Let me see my bank
I
balance.
get you.
You know, like I need
Yeah.
it needs to match, and I think
Yeah.
that's all I've not wanted, but what I seek for, just the matching of how deep you feel for me is how I want to see it in person.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just part of my imposter syndrome again is also just saying like, am I also asking for too much?
Yeah.
But then like my really good friend who's also a former host was like, girl, come on, you're asking for the basic. Like you're asking for the essentials. You know, like, you know how like water is an essential? You're asking for that.
Yeah.
People are asking for so much more and you're just basically asking for that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I constantly have to work through that every day in affirming myself, in saying that you deserve good things too. And you
Right.
also deserve it from someone who loves you too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But I mean, we also have different definitions to love.
Yeah.
You know, like how the school of side chicks would define love as gifting. You know,
Mm.
e-wallets, take
Being
me to
late.
Dubai.
Yeah. I can't, you know, people who do, I can't stand. I would never like.
You'd never stand a person. Right? Like people are just so disrespectful. I don't get it. Like, oh,
For real, the time.
you must be on time.
Should
You
have a
know.
watch.
Anyway, I hope you catch your sub. Anyway, yeah. Yes, you're saying. Sorry.
Yes, as I was saying, you know.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
like we all have different definitions
Yeah.
of what love
Mm.
is or what love should look like, you know.
Mm.
And I'm sorry to say, but like I've been listening to our podcast, right? And I'm realizing how everyone who walks in here has a different definition of what they seek in love,
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
want in a partner.
100%.
you know? And I'm
True.
just like, why are we all walking around like there's a textbook
There's no textbook.
kind of definition?
Yeah.
Like,
There's
oh
no
yeah, this is
textbook.
bare minimum. Oh yeah, you shouldn't spend on a man. Oh, this is how things are supposed to be.
Like
Who
there's-
said that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's no
Yeah.
rules. Yeah.
Where are the rules? Please
Yeah.
show me the fine print so I can go fetch it and be like, oh, okay, so this, do you tick
Mhm.
this box?
Yeah.
Okay, are you bringing this to the table? Okay, great. Do you understand?
Mm,
Because
exactly.
for me, my imposter syndrome, and I think like, and I got this from actually listening to our podcast. So I'm just like, girl,
Our podcast fueled your imposter syndrome.
babes.
Horrible. Imagine
No.
going to your therapist and be like, so where does your imposter syndrome come from? Oh, a podcast. Which one? Actually, a podcast I host.
Yeah,
host,
my
you
own.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. no, like literally, no. But our podcast,
You know, in my head, I'm thinking, because you know what therapists do? I don't know about like but my
Yeah.
therapist, she looks at me and then she goes, uh-huh.
Your loaded statement.
and how does that make you feel?
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't ask. She doesn't ask that question.
Oh, mine
I
does.
told her.
Like,
Is it?
I told her sometimes when you ask me that question, it gives me. So rather just ask me another question rather than how does it make me feel? Because you can see how I'm feeling. You can
Mm.
see that I'm crying. You can see that I've got anxiety. So she'll rather just be like, okay, so what are you trying to do about it? Or
Right.
what is, you know, she
Mm.
actively works on questions that are trying to get me into the line of practicality rather than just fearing and because at the end of the day, she'll just be like, Candace, remember, these are just your thoughts. And your thoughts
yeah.
That's so
control of your
powerful.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
That
remember
means a
that,
lot,
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So she always just starts off with that to say, these are just your thoughts. And the more you let them control you, the more anxiety comes through.
True.
So you need to remember that there's an ownership of your thoughts. And you need
Yes.
to
And you
convert
can't let them take over.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So if I had to say Dr. M, she'd be like, so what is up with your anxiety today? Oh, it's actually my podcast.
Podcast, yeah.
Your podcast is feeling your anxiety. Yes.
Yes.
So what are you doing about it? You know, like, what are you doing about it, Zim?
Honestly, actively nothing.
I love the honesty. That's so
But you
good.
know, for me, it's she's using the verb actively
Actively.
and nothing together.
Yes, it's like
It's like, no, it's
I'm
I'm
definitely.
actively just being like, you know what?
I
Mm.
come through every week. I record
just
shit,
here.
and
I
my
just,
imposter
you know.
syndrome just goes up and up.
Mm.
Right? But like, yeah, no, I actually had imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
And the podcast is making me realize that,
Mm.
girl,
Yes, ma'am.
you got problems.
Okay, ma'am.
Mm.
You know?
What's the
Mhm.
problem?
I'm just like, oh, come.
Tell us.
So this is a therapy session, guys.
Okay.
Do you have tissue?
Okay,
no.
Bradley will use his shirt. So.
Wow,
No,
you're gonna
no.
have snow. Woo, take it off.
No.
Bradley, come on.
You know?
What kind of therapy session is this?
I'm just
She'd be like, I was cured. I don't know what happened, but it was fine. I was
I'm
just gone after that.
Hectic.
Like,
Oh my goodness. Oh, but yeah, like how you were saying that it's like words of affirmation and
Mm.
action, right?
Mm.
If you're gonna say you love me, I want to
Mm.
see it. And if I'm not seeing it, then I want to fill that gap.
You want to feel it on your
I
own.
will fill it on my
So you're gonna
own.
do
Okay,
double
yeah.
work.
I carry the burden for the both of us.
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah, I can relate.
So like it's a
So I must be. So basically, I must be on my own then.
in a way,
So there's no point of dating you then.
which makes sense why I'm still single.
Mm.
Do you understand? Because it's like
It
I always
makes
try
sense.
to
Mhm.
be that active person. Oh, okay, he said he loves me, but your actions they look
You
dodgy.
see.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna take myself out on a date. Actually, do you want to come on a date with me? Then I'll bring them along to the
Oh, I
date.
So they just
See.
a handbag.
So now they just become a handbag. It's
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend.
I see.
You
Just
know,
say for good
Yeah.
vibes.
Just to
Yeah.
show up. Let's have good vibes. And then I'm just like, but am I really dating this person? Is this person actually dating me?
Yes, there we go. That's the question.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So in according to, and by the way, one of our viewers, Bushli Lepindo, said that there's a reason why the guidelines of how you should be loved or what you expect exist. So you do have those guidelines already by saying that in as much as the words matter, your actions need to match, right?
Yes.
So how then does your imposter syndrome work within the relationship when you're trying to ask for them to match, for you to be in sync? Like, do you just, because to me, it just sounds like you just sail through until you wait for one big issue and then you break up.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I'm that girl who waits it out
We're
because
the same.
the moment you say,
loyal to a fault.
exactly,
Yeah.
like I will stay there. Like how our relationship with the people who are in party right now, you know, like things haven't been happening, but we're just like, yo, you know what?
I'm gonna vote for
Yo
you.
rescued us
Yeah.
back there, so we
From
still
Amanda.
here, you know.
Yeah.
But
the
guys,
green,
really,
yellow.
we are doing this. We're sinking, and
Mm.
you know, when do we smell the coffee?
So at what, now I'm playing therapist. So at what point does that change? At what point do you actively choose to do something to ensure that you're never just waiting for your relationship to sink?
Mm.
When do you show up for yourself?
That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to.
Because if
Do
you
right
can
now.
actively show up for yourself when the person isn't matching the action,
Yeah.
and you say, okay, well, I'm going to love myself either way, you're already fulfilled in that regard. You're already complete as a person because
Yeah.
you're not going out to seek relationships to, you know, I hate that notion of, let me find someone to fill me.
My better
Yes.
half.
You better be,
Yeah,
No,
you
I hate
completely.
you're full.
Yeah.
Ryan, it makes,
No,
No,
babes.
no.
Yeah.
No.
rather you be complete and he's
Thank
complete
you.
together
It's
and you
complete
just,
beings.
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but at what point though, do you now say, I'm complete, I love myself already, now I need to demand? Oh, demand's a strong word,
Mm.
but now I'm seeking how I love myself from someone. And how do you ask for that? That's my imposter syndrome.
That's a tricky one. Yeah,
Because
it's difficult.
Yeah, I haven't figured
I
that
know who
answer
I am.
yet.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
know I'm the girl. Oh,
Mhm.
Listen.
I know I'm the girl.
Like how Listen.
I know I'm the girl. Okay, I know I have my faults. Okay,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have my faults. But
Mm-hmm.
I know how I want to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know how I value things and how I Okay, I'm gonna go on a rant. Sorry, I feel like I just need preachy music.
Mhm.
But lately, okay, so with the whole breakup and shit, I've been going through therapy, which has been great. My therapist has been great and actively helping me work through emotions and
Shout
stuff.
out.
Mhm.
But she recommended the book, the Higher Love book. And what I love about the book is removing these guidelines that are very materialistic, in saying, having the list, when you often go through the list of what it is that you seek for in someone, it is very materialistic and not foundational.
Mm.
And so the question you must ask yourself is, and this helps with my anxiety, because then I'm not always looking at what school does he go to, what car does he drive. I'm
Mm.
looking rather at how does he make me feel,
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
prioritizes me. So the question she asks is, what do you value as a person that you want to feel when you're being loved with another person? And what I value as a person, essentially what my values are, is kindness, generosity, and compassion.
Mhm.
And so if I'm with someone and I feel like I'm not being kind, then they're not bringing the best out of me.
Mhm.
If I'm with someone and I'm not being generous and I feel like
They're not bringing the best
they're not
out
bringing the
of me.
best out of me.
Yeah.
If I'm not being compassionate, they're not bringing the best out of me. But if they are bringing all those things out of me, then I know that I'm being valued
Mhm.
in love.
I see. Yeah.
And then on top of that, another quality or value that I enjoy is being playful and fun. Like I love that because life is very serious. So I
Yeah.
love just being fun, witty, punny. If that person is not bringing the best in me as a value that I value for myself in my life,
Mhm.
and I'm not feeling that in a relationship, then they're not for me.
It's
Oh, yeah,
chai.
absolutely.
And that has helped me so much in managing my anxiety when it comes to love.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then I'm not looking at the materialistic aspect of what can he bring to the table in terms of which are good things to have, financial security,
Yeah.
emotional protection, which are good things to have. But
Mhm.
rather I'm looking at how does he make me feel when I'm being loved to my fullest.
Mm.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's so
And
powerful.
that is very
yeah.
powerful.
Mm.
And
It
what my therapist has also said is we also need to remove the negative connotations of love, because what happens is that what brings us the anxiety of love is how we often perceive it in the language we use. So we often
Mm.
say, I'm too young to settle down.
Yeah.
But you're not settling down, you're settling in with someone
Yes.
who loves you.
Yes.
So you shouldn't feel negative around that.
Yeah.
How we always say we're falling in love as it's a risk or it's a consequence of something,
Yeah.
when you know that the guarantee of love is that it's a beautiful thing and love will
Yes.
make you happy. So instead of saying you're falling in love, rather say you're rising in love, because it brings the best out of you.
Oh, so that's the
right?
meaning. Okay, I
That's the
see.
meaning
Higher
of
love, right?
higher love, and finding it to complement the best of you. And the only way you can do that is when you are so complete with yourself. Not so. Obviously, there'll be a little bit of cheeses, they have little holes,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It's really about just saying that you know what you want, you know your values, you know the aspirations, the manifestations you have for yourself, that this is what you're
Mhm.
you're becoming a love magnet.
Yes.
And you
yeah.
just want good things only, you want good vibes only. And once you perceive that differently, once you perceive love differently, and you perceive it in a way that's for you and not against you,
Yes.
you will then obviously start dating differently, because now you're seeing people that actually like you for who you are, and you're never ever doubting what they have to say about you. You're never
Yes.
allowing the imposter syndrome to take place.
Mm.
And mind you, this is all stuff that my therapist has told me, right?
Wow.
So I'm
Yeah,
listening to this
yeah.
stuff
That
and
was
I'm like,
powerful. Yeah.
I hear you.
Uh-huh.
And then she gives me, because what happens is in certain moments in my life, she gives me a book to read.
Yeah.
So The
Mhm.
Higher Love was the book that I read. And I read it and I was like, this is literally what she said.
Mhm.
But it's obviously different because it's a writer from Australia, but it's affirming.
Yes.
And I think for me, what is important is that as young people, we need to start viewing love in a very positive light.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think this is partly why our podcast then has given you that anxiety or imposter syndrome, because we always are just like, oh man, cheating, I'm Jolo, Forex trading. It's just,
yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
But now if we take that approach where we are viewing it positively, where we know the guarantee that love is a beautiful thing, love is patient, love is kind,
Yeah.
maybe we'll then start attracting things that we truly deserve and that we'll never doubt.
Yeah.
That's what my therapist said.
Amen.
I mean, it's tricky.
Amen.
It's tricky. Oh
It
my,
is because then the question is, how do you navigate that? Like, how do you get to that point?
exactly, because it's like, you know how they say you attract what you are, but then in actual fact you're just like,
Why am I attracting forex traders?
exactly, like,
But then the
like,
Lord,
is that what I am?
the Lord is saying you must have different currencies in your bank balance.
Yeah.
That's what the Lord is saying. The Lord is saying that you must have money now, and the money must
How?
always build
How
slowly.
am I attracting
And
a
you must-
cheetah? It don't make sense.
No.
Like, how am I
Yeah.
attracting someone who's gonna portray this character of, oh yeah, I will open the door for you on the first date, and then as we move on in the relationship, I completely forget about your existence.
Right.
Like, just hop in the car, let's go. No.
Yeah, because that's not something that's talked about very often. But often that, because people are like, oh, how could you fall for a cheater? But it's like, no, there is this facade that's portrayed at the start of
Exactly.
this, of very enticing, very like perfect, very, oh, he's the perfect guy.
Yeah.
That actually happened to a friend of mine recently. She went on a
Okay.
date. She's like, oh, everything was perfect and stuff. And then after we spoke about it, and she's like, but hang on. He's actually told, like, he actually did this, he actually did that. And I was like, and then he never called back. And then he was like,
Exactly.
and he was like really keen to take her back to his place and stuff. And I was like, this isn't what you were looking for. It appeared to be like, oh, this guy, very serious
Thank
and
you.
fine to be looking for this. And afterwards, she's like, wait a minute. So
Something's not right.
yeah,
Mm.
precisely. So
I know I said a lot. I did, but I'm in a more positive space when it comes to viewing relationships and love. I'm never going to see it as something that's against me.
That's good though.
Welcome.
And I
That's
think
good.
that therefore will remove my imposter syndrome, because now I can be more assertive in the things I want. And also, if someone isn't clear with their boundaries or clear with their intentions, I can be like, because I also, one of the values is honesty, trust, and communication, right? Because there's 3 pillars: kindness, generosity, compassion, playfulness, and fun, and honesty, trust, and communication. If you're not being honest, then my bros, it's not going to end well for you now. It's going to end in tears, I beg.
Yeah.
I beg now. So I just think I've just decided that I should treat myself the way I would want to be treated with someone else. And I must prioritize those values, those 3 pillars, in embracing this love thing and never compromising on those pillars.
That is so
Yeah.
true. And I feel like as females, we should also just do what men do.
Which is?
Never compromise. Like,
Woo, I know
if
that.
That's a good point.
you
Yeah.
know, if
Because
you-
even men expect women to compromise in
Mhm.
a lot of situations.
you know,
Yeah.
so it's like, if a guy is already giving you a red flag, babes,
Yeah.
Team Begazal, that was
Yeah.
for our great grandparents and our mothers.
Yeah.
We can't be doing that in year 2024/2021 because we're still living in COVID.
It's gonna,
Yeah.
Get rid of
it's
it.
gonna be painful to say this, but honesty, trust, communication, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I went on a coffee meetup
Mhm.
with a former varsity friend.
Okay.
Let's get it on.
Ah, baby. I like you.
I like you too. That was perfect.
Like, bring it on,
Okay.
baby.
Tell us
And he
more.
asked this question.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get into the details of
Alrighty.
what happened that night or whatever. He asked that question.
happened that
Nothing happened that night, see?
Mhm.
Oh. No, generally, we just had coffee. We're catching up, and then coffee turned into dinner, and we're just chatting. Cool.
Mhm.
So he asked me the question: who do you think compromises more in a relationship? And I had to tread carefully, but I also just wanted to be like, I'm gonna rip the band-aid off.
Mhm.
Rip it.
Women
Yes.
do.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because we're conditioned
Mhm.
as women to tolerate any form of BS
Mhm.
that our male counterparts or intimate partners put us through.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
leave at the first sign of trouble, then we're told, come back. You must be a resilient rock. You
Yeah.
must, and
You're not strong.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
in Bogota.
imagine.
Mm.
So,
There's a list of requirements. It's like you're
Exactly.
supposed to be. Yeah.
and I told him this. I was like, what I've learned is that I will not compromise on how I should be
Mhm.
loved.
Mhm.
I can compromise on what the air conditioning should be in the car or the room.
Yeah.
I can I was gonna say I can compromise on pizza toppings, but I was like, actually, there's some people who put banana on their pizza. So
When did we move from pineapples?
Yeah, I was like, I
always-
thought that was still the controversy.
I'm
Like, when did
always
banana
putting-
become the thing?
No, people
Like,
put banana on their pizza.
what?
I don't understand how that is an option, because personally, pineapple is it for me. Pineapple, I love it. I will please.
Same.
So we can compromise on small little babe. What are you cooking with? I don't know. Maybe we should. No, but I want compromise.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Babe, what are
fine.
you? I don't know. Compromise.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Babe, I'm asking for communication.
Don't compromise. Never
No.
compromise.
Babe, I'm
Yeah.
asking for
Never.
my love.
Never
Can't compromise.
Yeah.
And women, we compromise.
Yeah.
We compromise so much.
Yeah.
And part of my imposter syndrome was I compromised on how I should have been loved, simply because I was like, I don't want to push too much. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to ask. I don't want to push him away.
Mhm.
I'm not doing that. No.
Baby
Yeah.
girl. But
Baby
you know how
girl.
society's gonna deem you after
I
that?
don't give a damn, because I'm not dating society.
Broken.
Yes.
I'm on
Yes.
dates.
Feminist.
I'm going to date. And me and my daughter, when we're dating, it's me and my daughter, and we're going to chat about it, because that's also another thing. The anxiety you get from putting society in your relationship.
Yes.
Thank
And what everybody else
you.
thinks and expects.
I
and
don't know how many
expectations.
times
Yeah.
I've seen people on Twitter get 1,000 roses, and I'm just
Oh.
there like, I ain't getting one.
I get no single one.
I don't know how many times women have said, I'm getting taken out for lunch today, and then I'm just like,
Wow.
I need to take my silver.
Babe.
I don't know how many.
She just said that.
You know, I don't know how many times people are like, oh my gosh, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I'm on a yacht in Dubai, and I'm like,
Where are these men?
I'm in a car in Johannesburg, stuck in traffic, and a taxi driver is winking at me. You see what I'm saying?
Babe.
Where is my time?
Oh my
Where
god.
is my time? Nelson Mandela did not die for this.
Yes.
I know for a fact. Nelson
Yes.
Mandela, he did. He definitely died for apartheid, but he also said the Minister of Menstruation and all other women deserve to be loved. And all of this nonsense we're experiencing right now is not it. Nelly M is rolling in his grave, I'm telling you.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah.
But what's going to let
Yeah.
Nelly M go, guys? Like, it's time, hey? Like,
Mhm.
it can't be every year. It's Nelly M. Like, let him go. South Africa. Like, I'm just like,
She's just putting that message out there, by the way. Yeah, just.
Yeah, no.
It's
Yeah,
a deep
no,
topic.
I get you.
Yeah.
but I'm glad it ended. Or rather, it began.
Yes.
But
On a
isn't
light
it
way.
strange though?
Right is
Right,
my
like,
sister.
How you look at like social media, right? And you
Mm.
see this woman. I'm not gonna name drop, but like woman with like a mileage. I don't know if you understand the term.
Right?
Mhm.
Like, and these girls are living their best life.
Mm.
Twerking in Dubai, getting gifted cars.
Mhm.
You know?
How possible, fam?
Right? And then there's you with your morals,
Yeah.
with your compromising. Done, and then Jolo does this to you.
But you see, that's also why we like live in this society that feels like it's too much to ask for something simple, like just
Yeah.
honesty and just like,
Yeah.
you know, because it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
And also we expect that common decency is common, but it's really not.
Exactly.
It's really not.
You know,
Like,
actually, I remember my English teacher when she was like, common sense is not so common. And I
yeah.
didn't get it back then, but now I'm just
Now it's
like,
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I was like with a bunch of friends recently when we were all discussing our like dating stories. And then we were like, eventually we were like, maybe it's just us guys. Maybe we're the weird ones. We're just expecting too
Right?
much. We're just supposed to be like
Never
everybody.
yeah, it's okay.
We're doing
Maybe we
something
shouldn't
wrong.
be dating. Maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing this dating
Nothing.
thing. It's
Precisely.
okay.
What is honesty and communication? We're not.
We all want to be loved. We all
Mm.
just remember our love languages are not saying, they're expressing how we want to be loved, right?
Mm.
We all value wanting to like feel that closeness, that intimacy, that safeness from someone. But the way you want to be loved, your love languages are probably, I don't want to assume, but
Mhm.
you probably want quality time, physical touch,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Did
Well
I
done.
get that
Well
right?
done. Yeah. That was she can see it. She's like, yeah.
I know know my friend. So, oh my God.
Mommy.
She like looked through my soul there. She was like, yours, I can see it.
Right,
Yes,
like,
of course.
Yeah, I know. I know my
I
man.
was like, wow.
I know my zaddy, okay?
Hello, zaddy.
Bradley's my cake zaddy, okay? And I know when we're having cake, it's quality time, okay?
That
And a bit
B1.
of this chocolate.
Hello.
Okay? I know.
We cried.
Cake
Yes,
daddy.
yeah.
No, we cried like
Yeah.
the first time Bradley had chocolate, and I'm not talking about myself.
Mm.
It was that he had chocolate.
There were tears.
He
There were
was
actual
just like, he
tears.
actually stopped. He was busy talking about that. And he was like, he just.
I was like, I need a moment. It's just like,
So shout out to Chateau Gateau.
Oh,
We
yes.
are open to
Oh.
sponsorships. Would love to have a cake tasting session whilst talking about relationships.
Hello.
Hashtag just saying.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Manifesting candles.
So I'm just saying we all have different ways of how we want to be loved, but
Mhm.
we all value love. We all want love.
Yes.
And I just think it's something that we should never undermine and something that we should never say we don't deserve it, because we do.
Yeah, we
do.
do. Absolutely.
We aspire
yeah.
to it.
Mm.
And maybe this is another topic, how we got our aspirations of love from. I know I got my aspirations from pop culture, and that is
Mhm.
probably the worst place to get it from.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
also get our love from our parents. Whether that be a good or
Yes.
bad thing, we need to determine that, and how
Mm.
it impacts our relationship is super important.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, the whole premise of this conversation is that you have to be super aware and in sync with yourself in order to give sort of like, I wouldn't say the best version of yourself, but at least a good version of yourself to your partner.
Yeah.
And what that means is you always have to make sure that even the imposter syndrome, even those nitty gritty thoughts that are eating away from you deserving good things, you need to dispose of it immediately. You know,
Mm.
like on a MacBook, you know, or a computer, you have all the files and you put it in the trash.
Mm.
The negative thoughts are the trash. Empty it immediately.
Yes. Yes.
Immediately.
Amen.
ASAP.
You have to. Yeah. It's,
So emotional.
Oh, Z. I think Z's pregnant, guys. And then we go on 90 day at TLC. I didn't know Z was pregnant.
Oh
then
my
Z
god.
Yeah.
And then
wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's Bradley's. Anyways, so
We've been meaning to tell you. It's
Right, like,
it's actually why we
oh,
came here
I
today.
would support this.
Yeah.
I would love to be an auntie again.
no,
I love it.
no, no.
I love being an auntie, guys.
There's already a lady. Please.
Yeah, but the lady's
Please.
growing older now, and so we need to add another.
Oh my goodness. The
Wow.
sleepless nights. Don't-
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh.
But you love. You have so much love to share. You give it to your kid. See,
Mm.
view it positively. Okay,
Mm.
view it positively. I
Positive
view
thoughts.
Having
Yes.
kids, as I'm so in love with you as a partner, I have
Mhm.
so much love for you that I want to give it to our child.
Yeah, that's what I got
Yeah,
from that.
no, guys. If
Absolutely,
you're not
yeah.
ready, feed us, delete us. Okay.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
'cause-
When are you having a baby?
Yes, Candace. Mm.
You don't need a man for that.
Mm. yeah. These days.
Just
you don't.
saying.
Hi, guys. Please, no. Let's not
Mm.
add this. Let's not add this pressure. I must now
Candace, like,
get
I'm dealing with
into-
enough at the moment.
I'm
please.
dealing with trying to find a higher love. Now I must find a higher love with the baby daddy. Oh, hell
Oh.
to the no.
Oh,
To the no. Hell to the no. Anyway, final thoughts on imposter syndrome, relationships.
I mean, my question for imposter syndrome or
Mhm.
about imposter syndrome, right, is how do you know if it's not just your negative thoughts creeping in?
Okay.
You know, in a
Uh-huh.
sense that, for example, you see your partner is acting weird,
Mhm.
and now
Mhm.
you're thinking maybe it's just me projecting right now.
Mhm.
So how can you tell the difference between projecting and your thoughts?
No, like whether it's actually happening or whether it's just your negative thoughts. Like, is it just something that you're doing, or that's something that you're seeing, or is it actually happening?
I feel like I need an example.
How do I put this? So you know how for example, like you have a guy, he's like saying I love you, but
Uh-huh.
the actions are like
Mhm.
they're not showing like
Right.
consistencies, like,
Right.
or maybe they're just not picking up that they're not being consistent.
Right.
Mm.
Right. It's like but babe, I love you. But and yet here's Candace feeling like, babe, I think you're
I don't
actually
know.
over me. Like something's
Yeah, 'cause
going
the way
on.
you're acting.
You know,
Right.
like
Mhm.
how do you then know that, okay, this is the imposter syndrome, feeling like, okay, this person is just
Yeah, got your guts. It's got your guts.
but your
And your
gut
guts-
can
No,
sometimes
my gut has never let me down when it comes to intuition, when it comes to
Mm.
telling me. My gut,
I think it's sometimes a battle between your mind
yeah.
and your guts, because sometimes your
Yeah.
mind can be really strong.
But
and you can think,
exactly.
yeah,
I found that
But-
my mind tends to overthink
Also,
and
there's
make it a
that.
greater situation than it really is. Where my gut is just like, girl, all you need to do is speak to him.
yeah,
You know? So what I've learned is that let me not overanalyze, overthink something that is so simple as communication, something that is so simple as clarity.
Mm.
Because the moment you start overthinking and creating scenarios in your head, you will literally drive yourself mad.
But then
Mm.
also, imposter syndrome has a tendency of affecting your communication, because now you start feeling like, I keep on bringing something new every day. It's like, oh, but today you didn't pick me up. Oh, but yesterday you didn't pick the kids up. Oh, but you know, it's like,
But if it's becoming a cycle where there's constant disappointment on your partner's case and you are carrying the burden of keeping it to yourself, then the question lies as to, are you really getting what you want from this relationship beyond just them doing everyday mistakes? If your person is constantly just disappointing you in basic fun, like, because listen, we're all human beings. We will make mistakes. There'll be days when I will forget. There'll be days when I will not bring something. I'll forget the bread. I'll forget. There'll be days, but you'll forgive me, right? But you can't forgive things like I forget to communicate or be honest with you about our feelings and how we love each other. That for me is because everyday life happens, right? I see this in couples where, oh, babe, you forgot to bring this. Tit for tat, right? You apologize, you get over it. But you forgetting
we
is
don't
not
get over it. You can't.
But it
you can't
depends
forget
on
to
the
share about it.
task, though, or the obligation. If it's a huge obligation,
How are you
like,
forgetting the bread? What are we gonna have for dinner?
wow, Uber Eats, come on,
That-
you don't
Uber
make it
Eats
bigger.
at 10 p.m. Really?
But it's the
Yes,
bread. You need the bread. Like,
Exactly.
it's the
You
bread.
go, then you go to the feeling station. You make a plan as a couple together. That's the thing of compromising and working through it, right? You then go, okay, well, I get you forget. I completely, maybe next time just put a reminder on your phone. So what are we gonna do now? Then you work through it, right? Him forgetting the bread doesn't mean he doesn't love you, but him forgetting about an event that is important for you,
Like an
or him
anniversary.
Oh,
Then yeah.
and it's not once; he forgets multiple times. Oh,
Or even if it's something that you've just spoken about several times and addressed several times, and there's no change in behavior, and it's like, well, then there's no respect. Shit,
exactly.
You know? So,
if there's no willingness to, because the next time he remembers to bring the bread. In fact, he brings the bread and he brings all different types of bread and he brings it with flowers and champagne. Then you feel I'm valued.
oh, you're dating Superman.
then
Wow, this is amazing.
So I think it's just a matter of asking yourself what you consider to be very significant in regards to the everyday tasks of your relationship. But if there are major days of significance, like your anniversary, you've got a performance, your parents are coming out, and you completely forget, and it becomes a habit, and there's no genuine excuse to back it up. To say, listen, my tires burst, or I was in an accident, or then it's like, okay, now this has become a habit where you just genuinely don't show up.
Yeah.
Be gone.
And I'm going to tell you, and you have every right to be assertive in saying, I'm going to tell you that you're not showing up for me, and therefore you're not showing up for this relationship, and therefore I'm out.
Exactly.
Be assertive.
Yeah. And that's really the way to beat imposter syndrome. It's that if you can like really be your honest self with someone and like bring down those walls, and then once you know what kind of level playing field you're on, it's like, okay, well, this is me, this is what I expect, this is you, this is what you expect. So then any deviation from that, it's like, okay, we need to talk and address it. If that continues, okay, then this is not all right. Then now this is not working. You see?
Exactly.
Because it's like, then you've done all you can. You've been honest. You've like, and I think the thing is, it's difficult to get to that point internally, because you've got to like, there's also an element of self-work and self-awareness that comes in with imposter syndrome, because like there's a lot of things I didn't know about myself up until like even the start of this year. And then like I went through this like massive heartbreak, and then it's kind of like, you know, when a mirror shatters and then it's like all that you actually see like all the cracks go, and I was like, whoa. It was like a step back, and I was like, okay, so these are all the things I actually have to work on, or these are the things. And I didn't see that even previous times, like when it was raised or when it was brought, I was like, no, I don't get it. I don't understand. This is not like, you know. And then, but then afterwards, I was like, oh, I get it. And that took months. Like even up until like last month, I was still like, oh, I understand. Okay, this makes sense. This is why she felt this way. This is why she felt that way.
Yeah.
And then it's, again, it's sad. It's like, it's too little, too late. You feel like an idiot. But the good thing is, it does take that time of being reflective to be like, okay, I actually see it now, and I see what I have to work on in this,
Right.
and I see my part in it, and that really makes a big difference, because like in general, like imposter syndrome has been this like overarching like theme in my life, because about like maybe like 6 years ago, this was like, again, start of varsity is when I met you. I was like very close to a lot of people. I was like always around people. Everybody was like, and then there was one friend who came up to me and it was like, you were like always around us, but we really don't actually know much about what you go through. When you're not okay, you just vanish, and you're like, and then when we see you, then when we see you, you're like so happy and you're so this, but we don't actually know what happens with you. But you're always here, like you're always with us, but we don't know. And then that's when I realized that I actually don't like let people see me. Yeah, it was like there is this image that I have, but it's an image that I created, and it's an image that I showed to everybody. And it was fun, and because I have anxiety, it's like it just kind of snaps in. So I could be like and this has happened many times. I could be like so depressed and like so down. And then the moment a friend walks in, it's like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
And then the moment they leave, I'm like, oh my God, I'm back to normal. You know? And that's the thing. It's these walls we put up. It's these barriers. So breaking that down, it's not easy. In fact, one of the ways you get over imposter syndrome in relationships is by first, introducing like things that feel uncomfortable, but like in small steps. So it's like, because you like, all right, sit down. This is me. This is everything. Like, no, it's like, okay, you first have to kind of get to that point, like introduce it in baby steps. It's like, okay, I'm not used to maybe it's being vulnerable. Maybe it's asking for what you want. Maybe it's being open or honest. Maybe it's expressing. It's like, okay, that's quite difficult. It's difficult to say, right, I'm just going to change my personality and then do this going forward. But doing that in like smaller steps or kind of easing yourself into it is what helps, because it is an anxious process do that, even to just be yourself, to be vulnerable. That's an issue I had. And I was like, that's why I had this wall. But then afterwards, and with the right people, you find that, and that's what a lot of people don't know, is that when you actually start to open up, the opposite happens. It's not that people run away. The right people actually start to like, they actually get like even closer to you. And that's true. And I found that happening with friends as well. I was like, wow, people actually care. But because of the imposter syndrome, you're like, if these walls come down, you're all going to run away. So I would like, let's keep it here. Yeah. So I would like bring down one wall, and I was like, okay, everybody's still here. I don't know why. Still got them fooled. Another wall comes down. I'm like, I was like, no, they're going to leave now. Once this wall falls, it's over. It's finished. And then everybody's staying, and then like, really? Wow. So, but again, that happens with the right people.
Exactly.
Because it has happened before. I was like open and honest with someone, and they just left. They just took off, and I was like, oh, I thought this is what you wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The facade. So.
And it's so weird when that happened to me. Like when they took off, I brought the wall up. Because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not ready to lose people. Yeah. But also, I don't want to keep people who don't want to be in my life.
Yes,
right. So finding that balance,
it's tricky. It is. Yeah.
But more than anything, like Bradley said, it's taking that big chunk and breaking it into small pieces.
True.
And for me, it's always just starting off with daily affirmations. I know for some people find daily affirmations clingy, but I find them to be very powerful. Because the first thing I do when I wake up is I don't lift my phone, or I don't bombard myself with emails, or I'm literally just speaking to myself for just 5 minutes.
Can I just applaud you for uploading a status every day of a daily affirmation?
And I'm trying to get people into that mindset too,
babe.
To say I've just affirmed myself. Yeah, I'm going to go so far as to affirm you,
exactly,
and being generous, right? So it's important, and I think that's just you work different ways. Exactly. Some it's working out, for others it's just different ways that you can deal with your imposter syndrome and speak to yourself more positively. Because at the end of the day, you spend most of the time with yourself. Babe. So you'd rather just be kind to the person you're spending all the time.
Absolutely,
a lot of your time in here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even when you're outside in the world, you are in here.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to like be kind to yourself, to treat yourself well,
Exactly.
and to help yourself and build yourself up.
100%.
You know, because as I said back then, I was this happy guy, but I was the most miserable happy guy. Though everybody knew, people didn't know I was in therapy, and I was like crying and like feeling bad and so down and depressed and stuff. So yeah, and again, it's only when I think a lot of people sometimes when you get out of a relationship, it's like, oh, I need to just focus on myself. I need to whatever. And in the past, I'd said that. There were times when I was like, no, it's just, time, focus on self. But I didn't really actually do it until this year when I was like, oh, okay, I see what it means now. And it's not easy. It's like confronting a lot of ghosts in the closet or skeletons. It's like, it can be a grueling process.
Yeah.
It was like 26 years of ghost. So it was a lot in there. But the thing is, it's so necessary because, again, you get to a better point where you're just more okay with yourself. Like before you even meet anybody else or like relationships, like you just exist in a state of peace now, right? Like, or more peace, compared to, and then that also changes your perception and the way you see certain things. Like you said, the way you see love differently now. It's like, there's like a certain maturity that comes with it.
Exactly.
Like,
so like a rite of passage. Coming out on the other side.
Exactly. So like love is something different now compared to a couple of years ago, compared to before that.
Exactly.
You see? So
it's just about being kind to yourselves and to the listeners. Thank you for constantly being kind to us.
Yes.
And always showing up, listening to our episodes. Just a little bit of some tea. Our mental health buddy Bradley may or may not.
May or may not. It's still in the works.
It's still in the works. Also, be dropping his own podcast. On mental health.
I love tea.
I love the tea. And we're so excited for that.
Super excited.
Because you make mental health and speaking about it so easy, and also relatable, but also just you make us feel the actual need to work on it. So
thank you.
I hope you get to it, Zaddy.
Thank you so much. I hope so too.
Mental Health Zaddy. That's the name of the podcast, guys. Mental Health Zaddy. Okay.
Give me some sugar.
Mental Health Zaddy. Give me some sugar. We can take care of yourselves by making your life a little bit sweeter.
Yes. Woo! Oh, there we go.
Yeah, guys. So no, we're going to be back. No, we're back. We're back now.
Yeah, we hope we stay. We hope we don't get dribbled by a side chick.
No side chick will come through and dismantle or derail us from this podcast. And giving you guys daily weekly content. As usual, you always give people a message towards the end of the podcast about.
Yeah, no.
Okay, Z's tapped out.
I'm not doing it today.
So, guys, you know what to do. Subscribe, follow, listen, love, screenshots, send it to your lovers. Send it to your side chick, send it to side men's side, whoever's. And from me, Candace, and
it's Zanal B.
And our extra special guest,
Bradley.
We are out. Bye.
Bye.